I'm going to tell everybody in school, if you want to see my dad on YouTube, to say on it, the tape never lies. Go shit in the hat.
Yes.
For Lord Cars.
Hear ye. Man to the people.
You know it's Cars Keys. Let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our texts like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive.
Analytical preparation, that's what Cars is given. Cars don't discriminate, teaching the men and women. Each and every week, bears nerd to get your focus. Never manipulating stats, Lord Cars and hocus pocus. Cars Keys, they're never lost. Checking source, never gonna find a better scouting report. Cars going live with the smartest man, my bestie. Deciphering holes on the defense like Getsy. New show, uniforms, orange with the dark sea. Tape never lies, patrons, this is Cars
You know
Keys.
it's Cars Keys. Let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our texts like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive. We gotta break down tape like detectives. No hot takes, just real football perspectives. The Bears nerd dropping science on his terms. TTNL giving Bears press like a perm. Other networks is off with the heads. Stats plus film equals football cred. Analysis like Data Ted tries to shred. McCaskey's letting me cake, we keep the 100 crew fed. Cars Keys, let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our texts like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive. Lord Hines in his car, fill up a goblet. Lord Hines in his car, fill up a goblet.
Hey, it's Cars Keys Season 2. It's the Walter Show, episode 34. Or it could be the Riley Marsaw Show, number 34 for your Hammond Red Devils in basketball. Honoring sweetness, even though it's in basketball. But here we are. This is going to be the non-quarterback show. Everything but tonight. I think we've worn that out for this week. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, a little bit different approach. We're going to talk everything but quarterback tonight. Who knows? Cars might fuck it all up and go rogue and want to draft Penix number 1 overall so I can smack him in his face. But let's bring our guy out here. Where is he at? Here he is. Lord Cars.
I mean, we're absolutely going to go rogue at some point on this one. It has been too stressful of a year with too stressful of a season. And
It is stressful, man.
There are times I'm going to snap, like it's just going to happen. It's just
I hear you, dude. I honestly think it's going to be interesting. We're going to have Dan Weeder on next week on Keeping It 100. And it's going to be, I honestly think the media and the fans are making a lot more out of it than they need to. I think it's a pretty easy decision. You know what I mean? I think we're digging down too deep at the end of the day.
But it's our way, right?
Yeah.
Like it's our way.
We'll get there though. We don't want to fuck up and start talking QBs right out the gate when we said we weren't going to, but yeah, man, it's a big decision. We'll get there. We got lots and lots and lots of time to cover it.
If I could interrupt for a second. So Maisie, I told you you're not supposed to be listening because Steph just sent me a text and said she heard you say "fuck it up" and she screamed, "Come on, Shane!" like you're best friends. So
Maisie, I am so fucking sorry. I won't do it again.
we won't do this shit anymore.
Yeah,
Okay, no
right.
more of this shit.
I don't know, but that Bears head behind you is pretty fucking amazing. Whoever got you that.
It's the most incredible Bears related piece of memorabilia anyone has ever gotten
Yes,
for
you
me.
should
So it's pretty impressive.
Show that to Steph so she can appreciate it. But anyways, let's get into it, man. We got the Arizona Cardinals coming into Chicago. And Carter's, you sent me a text, and it was weird when you sent it to me. You know, you're like, this isn't going to be the gimme game that a lot of people are talking about. I think they see, you know, dome team, warm weather team coming to Chicago, but it's gonna be an interesting setup here to see, because I mean, even Matt Eberflus has to make a transition. How is he going to, you know, what is he going to do with Kyler Murray? I think that's the part that I'm going to be interested in too. You know, he's a guy that's got some scoots that can make some plays with his feet, and that's going to be an adjustment. It's not going to be Jared Goff in the pocket. It's not going to be, you know, a statue back there. So it's going to be interesting to see how Eberflus attacks all of this.
Well, and I think, you know, the difference here is we have been a much better run defense, but the two games that we've really struggled have been with very physical offensive lines. And Arizona's running the ball really well. So, and they're not really a threat through the air as much, even with Murray, because I mean, just name someone on that team that's doing anything other than McBride. But it's a change all the way around, Shane, because we're now solidly into that fourth quarter of the season. You know, you've got these handful of games here. This is going to be the last real pivot that you have to make. And so this middle pivot, these last 5 games, has been so brutal, that you hope to see something different, but you have no belief that there's going to be anything different.
Right.
So,
and that's the thing. And then one more thing that I'm going to be interested in too is this last game, man. There was so much on the line. And I understand this is a young team. There's still a ton for them to play for just in their, you know, ascension as players. But at the same time, when you get kicked in the face like that, when you remove yourself essentially from the playoff equation, I know that there's still what is there, like a 3% chance or something like that?
It's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening. Exactly. But will they rebound? Will they maintain? Will they come out with a vengeance? Are they still going to be the same defense that has been making plays and taking the ball away, that hits philosophy? And let's be honest, man, this is an entire coaching staff on the line. So, you know, Flus better be, if Flus wants to maintain here, if he wants to be here, he better be coaching his ass off. He should have been anyway, but how they react, and
it's never been good how they've reacted
exactly
2 years in either. Yeah.
No, I hear you. So, but
this is when it gets a little interesting too, because this is where kind of being a chameleon as a play caller comes in really handy. Sometimes I think we forget that it's the hardest thing in some of these jobs is the year-to-year consistency. Like, look at Jacksonville last year and the way the offense looked. And then this year, it's taken a significant step back, and Trevor Lawrence has kind of had a step back year as well.
Yep.
The really good ones keep that consistency because they make small changes. Part of the reason you're seeing Detroit's struggle right now is it's been about 17 games since, you know, the tailgate show last year, right? And that's when their offense really started to take off. And what you've seen is the offense is now starting to struggle a little bit more against better defenses in Detroit. So these things of, like, you know, season to season are incredibly difficult, but 4-game stretch to 4-game stretch is extremely difficult. We've kind of just exited that 4 stretch. So now we're kind of in that middle, and when you get punched, now you're getting counter punched. How do you do that? You just have no faith that they can do it whatsoever.
I'm right there with you, man. It's until proven otherwise, this is who they are. In big moments, they don't show
Inconsistent.
up. Yeah, they don't show up for 4 quarters. They might show up for 3.5, but it's though that half of a quarter that they don't show up, and they end up losing. So we got our first super chat here. Sean Stewart, $5. Happy holidays, Cars and Shane, and the TTNL family. Thanks, man.
Happy
Appreciate
holidays to you as well. Yes,
We
it's hard to
are-
believe we're here.
It is, especially with the weather here in New York. I texted you, Cars. I was in line at the car wash, today on December 21st, and there's a whole line of cars that's supposed to be in the 50s on Christmas Day here in New York. So I know it's going to be like that for you in Chicago. So
Yeah, we had snow on Halloween.
yeah,
Literal snow and freezing, and it'll be 20 degrees warmer on Christmas this year. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. So let's dive into it, man. Might end up being a little bit shorter of a show tonight, but we still have lots to talk about.
So let's just talk a little bit about the we'll call them the Kyler Cardinals, which is too close to almost a KKK type of sounding thing. But so they're 2-3 here. The things you want to look at, Murray hasn't, and I spelled Murray there wrong, but he hasn't been great, hasn't been tearing it up, about 201-1. The Cardinals are really focused on that run game. Last week, they rushed for well over 200 yards against the 7th best rush defense in the NFL. 140 a game, so they're right in the same range that we have been, but down below is really where they're eating us up. So you can see the yards per carry, but Connor having 14% of his carries going over 10 or more yards is an insane stat.
It sure is.
When they bring in DeMarcado, he's at 9% of those carries are going. So you're talking about every 10 carries, every 10 touches for these guys, one is going 10 plus. They had a 69 and a 44 yarder, if I'm remembering correctly, against San Francisco. So they're a big play run offense, which is super necessary because you could see they're only averaging on the season 5.9 yards per pass and 5 yards per run. So it's a negligible difference between them. From when it looks at from a pass catching perspective, it's Trey McBride and pretty much no one. I mean, Hollywood Brown, and Shane, you'll remember Hollywood Brown went for a higher draft pick than AJ Brown did.
Yeah.
Is not having a big year, isn't seeing the ball a lot. There are no wide receivers, really. Rondale Moore has been really a gadget guy and a big disappointment there. Dortch is injured. So it's, you take away McBride, it becomes a really one-dimensional team, but they're really good running off the edges. Paris Johnson Jr. and Humphreys have been really good. They're averaging, I think it's like 5.5 plus yards per rush over the end behind them. So you really, again, Detroit was a physical run game. We struggled with that. Arizona runs that as well. And we're going to really see how improved the run defense is this week.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they have to maintain. And this is where you want to see a guy like, Gervon Dexter take yet another step and make some plays. And, I was looking around two cars and I said, how interesting is it? I know the way that the whole Larry Ogunjobi thing fell apart and I still praise Ryan Poles for what he did. You have that is a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
When you agree to terms, but it always comes down to the physical. But really, for a while there, Justin Jones was absent. And then he started obviously bringing in Montez Sweat and stuff like that. But Justin Jones, at this point, Cars, you even brought it up too. He's a guy that's going to be right in line that absolutely deserves to be a part of this rotation on the interior and deserves that contract extension.
Well, I think that's what's really helped him a lot more is that they've been running a lot more pairings with Dexter and
Mhm.
Billings and not just him, right? So it's
Absolutely.
more of Dexter's snaps are taken at that place, so he's getting to stay healthy. And some of these guys are good, X amount of plays guys. Isn't it Saban that always like grades them on their snaps and
Yep.
says, "Yep, you had 25, you did
Mhm.
20. Next week, you're a 20 snap guy until you show us you could do
Yep.
it." It was very similar to that, but yeah, he's absolutely earned his way into a contract. I mean, last year he was a team captain. He's still talked about by a lot of folks as a leader in that defensive line room. He's not going to cost you a ton of money, but
Right.
rotationally,
Yeah. No, he's got to
totally
be a
worth it.
piece on a on a good team. He's a top flight third guy that
Yeah,
you're
3.5
rotating in.
sacks
Yeah.
out of a guy like that, you'll take that all day. And I think he's got another Justin's got another 15 QB
Right.
hits,
Yep.
right? So like he is disrupting quite a bit.
Leads the team in tackles for loss, I believe, also.
That is correct. He does. He leads with 9, and he actually leads us in QB hits as well. So I mean, he's just one of those guys you don't ask too much of him, and we'll give. It's kind of like the old Mark Anderson year,
Yeah.
right? Like we asked him just to be a situational guy, tore off. The next year, we're like, make that leap, and he said no. And
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I mean, that is such an easy trap to fall into, and I know he got hurt this year, but we talked about it with a guy like Khalil Herbert. There is nothing wrong with the role that he provided, the role that he was playing last year, and no part of me ever looked at Khalil Herbert like, "Oh, this can be the lead guy, this can be the focus of your running game." And I said, so many teams fall into that trap. And I said, that's what makes this looking at Montez Sweat, you have to give Ryan Poles so much credit.
oh,
After the way that the Chase Claypool thing fell apart, you can be really, really leery about making any deal with a high second round pick again. But a guy coming in from a defensive line that's first round pick that had some nice years,
yep.
but he comes here where he is clearly the man. It's all him. And he has embraced that role and really taken off. And I said, those are the things that make GMs their money, because that is really, really hard to figure out. You can watch a guy on tape, you can see him making plays, cars, but to be able to realize what this guy is going to be like when you give him $98 million and when you're surrounded by talent and playing okay, you're playing good enough, but then you pay him and then you take it up, not one level, not 2 levels, but up 4 or 5 levels. That's a special thing right there, man. It really is.
It's the opposite of the when we did the Adewale Ogunleye signing, right? Because there was a concern with him is Aaron Taylor on the other side making him better? Is that why he's so elevated? But all we heard, from anyone who would talk was that, he was the 4th most important player on that line. And yes, his sack numbers were higher, but that was because of what everybody else was doing. And he was just the one that did it consistently every year. And to see the stretch that he has put in, you're absolutely right. Like, how do you look at a player, again, Ogunleye versus this, on wildly talented lines, putting up really good numbers? You're either going to err on the side of that he's better and he'll show it, or probably the vast majority of the time as well, or you're going to hit. He hit massively.
Do you remember what the Wale trade was?
Had a second and a fourth.
It was a 3rd and Marty Booker.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh, the
Marty Booker was my dude. I loved that guy. I had a dog I had a lab at the time, and I named him Booker after Marty Booker. And they traded him. He was my dude.
The first ever Bear to catch 100 passes in a season.
Yeah, and did it back to back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually been in contact with Marty, and we're trying to set up a time to get him to come onto the show.
I just always remember every year you get to training camp, and like, just so you remember, he's got alien long fingers, and it would be a story.
He
every
wore
year.
3X gloves, and his hands were so big he couldn't even strap them. If you look at Marty Booker when he played there, the Velcro was always undone because his hands were so big.
I just always remember some of those fingertip catches, and he didn't play with a lot of really good quarterbacks that were known for their accuracy, I think would be the way I would say it. So he was one of the better ones, and one probably that doesn't get enough love because of the era that he played here.
Absolutely. So what do you got next?
So let's talk about the Cardinals defense, the opposite side. Cardinals are giving up just as many yards rushing as they are doing themselves. So you could see only 2 teams didn't rush over them, and those are 2 teams that could care less about the run this year in Washington and the Bengals. Over the last 5, so again, trying to use the time that Kyler has been there, the D is giving up 27 points a game, but we could thank Mitch Trubisky and his leadership for 10 of those points in that Steelers game.
Don't tell Mike North.
If you look at it, this is where I love that how misleading stats can be. So the Cardinals look to be the 13th best pass defense, only giving up 236 yards, but that's because everybody can run on them. And if you look below, they're giving up almost, I think it's like 9 yards or 8 point something yards per attempt. So they are the 3rd highest yard per attempt team. They have 9 interceptions on the season, 3 of which came against CJ Stroud. They've had 0 sacks the last 3 weeks. They are not forcing turnovers. If you try to name people, Shane, it's like Zaven Collins, Buda Baker,
right,
and then name someone, right? Like Josh Woods, only because I looked and people would know him.
TTNL friend, Josh Woods.
Yeah, but a lot of that roster, you just look at defensively as nothing. Their leading sacker has 5, and if you would think that he might have been an extra on the Sons of Anarchy as one of the those folks. So I think it's defensively, this is a game that should be a get healthy game for the offense. It should play into the hands a little bit, but God, we'll get there. But I don't know about you, but it's just not a very talented football team on either side.
No, it's not. And like I said, it's just, I don't want to go down the wormhole of negativity because there's so much here that we could do a 4-hour show on it. And I know people get nauseated by it after a little while, but you're right, man. It's just, there's so much there. And listen, is it going to be out of the realm of possibility for Arizona to not want to win this game?
No,
because
I think they're locked in with Kyler.
Yeah.
And they kind of, because of the contract and everything else, they have to be. And he hasn't looked bad, but he has no weapons, like Trey McBride and a bunch of garbage. So no, I don't think it would be out of the realm of possibility, because I think they desperately would want Marvin Harrison Jr. to pair up on the outside.
100%. And
that's their home run pick.
Yeah. All day long. And we've maintained, quarterback, wide receiver, are going to be the first 3 picks in this draft. And I still maintain that. And as much as I love Marvin Harrison Jr., we talked about it a little bit last night, Cars, in some scenario, if the Bears decided they were trading down, and then you brought this up earlier, I'm a massive fan of Malik Neighbors. You know what I mean? And it's Marvin Harrison is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but there's going to be options there, but I totally agree with you. I think they are full steam ahead, 100% on board with Marvin Harrison Jr. coming to Arizona.
And it's like last year because they latched on to Paris really early and it kept getting mocked. And so you kind of knew when they dropped back, you're like, that's a little far for him. That's probably not going to be. And that they planned it with the other move. They're a team that does tend to lock in, but it's really the perfect marriage at that point, because if Kyler is going to take a leap, right, and he's been good but wildly inconsistent, and you're gonna have to pay him $100 more million the next 2 years, or it's 110 or something like that.
Right, and this is what I was just looking at. Vince had in here, if they wanted to trade him, and it's just financially, everything's kicking in now. It's like Black and Abdallah going on ESPN radio. Was it? I don't know what time it was, whenever they were on, and talking about the Bears trading their their 2 first-round picks to the Chargers for Justin Herbert. And I'm like, guys, come on, take 10 seconds out of your life to go look up at the contract and see that it's impossible for them to do. In Arizona, it's the same type of deal. I mean, what are the numbers on that, Cars?
He is 50 for Kyler right now.
Yeah.
So he's 55 million next year, or 51 million, but he would be 85 million in dead cap next year.
No way.
So that's not going to happen. And then the year after, he drops down to his salary is 45 million and his dead cap is 33. So it's really a 1-year deal, but it works out in the sense of we get this piece here, that piece is there, but that team, good Lord, as great of a player as that is, you have no offensive line. Like, to pass block, they've been pretty good, and shockingly, Paris has been better to me in pass block, or in run blocking, than pass blocking this year, which is a total change. But it's one of those things where you love Marvin and you want to see him go to the right place, and New England, Atlanta, or Arizona, and the Giants are going to be the worst places for him to go, and that's where he's going to most likely end up.
Right. Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about.
It is. Yeah. And guys, we got a ton of time to talk about the draft, but even like this, I am not going up. I'm not giving up assets to go up for a wide receiver.
No, because there's not as well. I mean, there's a drop off overall, right?
Sure.
From Marvin to Malik, but
I mean, you're giving up legit compensation to go from to get it into the top 3, like legit. It's the same type of deal from trading number 1 this year is going to be more expensive than trading number 1 last year for the team that's coming up.
Yeah, because in 2 things here, though. One, I don't think if New England's drafting 2, I think Marvin's going there as well. I don't see them reaching for a quarterback because, again, I don't believe in Drake May. I don't believe in Jaden Daniels in the top 10. So yeah, I think you're looking to move up to 2, and because quarterbacks are going to be in play for others,
right,
that value or the cost of that move is going to be normal quarterback trade or pick trade value, and that's going to be way worse.
Even let's just say he was at 3, and moving from 5 to 3 is 2+,
and we don't have it
right.
Well, yeah.
Well, but I'm saying so that's.
You're giving up a 1 next year.
Yeah, and there's no fucking way.
And that's
into that.
That's the thing, is when you're still building the roster up. Again, if you're playing
Neighbors is really, really good. And really good. Yeah.
If you are a team like Seattle last year or Detroit last year, where you were a playoff team, and you basically lucked into a top 5 draft pick because of a bad trade that another team made, those are the times when you can convince yourself luckily in the top 5 and you don't expect to be there again. So you go make that trade and give up a first next year because you know it's going to be 25, 30 because you're that type of team. Then you do it. But when it's still unknown and there's not enough of a drop off to make up for that, yeah, I think you kind of have to walk away from it.
Do you think that there's any chance, Cars, that I know we're not going to get into quarterback talk, but do you think that there's any chance if, say, a T. Higgins hits unrestricted free agency, that the Bears are going to look there to make the draft wide open for them?
Oh, absolutely. The issue with T will just be there are some beliefs he might want to try to go to be somewhere to be the guy, right? And but no, if you do, because then you still have Bowers in play, and
100%.
Bowers is a really, really good player. Like
I think
really
about what Bowers would be with Kmet as the other tight end, and that gets me that's going to make Cole Kmet's life,
I mean,
so much easier if you had a guy like Bowers in there. I just do not like the thought of drafting a tight end up that high.
I don't either. But if you look at what Pitts did his first season versus the rest and how it's all on the head coach and offensive coordinator and friend of the show, God, what's our former quarterback coach? That's the offensive coordinator there.
Oh, Jesus. You're making me think tonight.
I won't think about it anymore. But, it's sometimes there's a player that are so talented and the way that the draft is that there really isn't all that much, in the top 5. Like the UCLA kid, some great tape, but I'm not drafting a kid with a neck history and shoulder like that.
I don't think he's going to be the first edge off the board anyway.
No. But like those other guys, it's Caleb, it's Olu, it's Alt. And then
as much as I hate, and I wasn't on it early, Cars, but going back and I've started to jump into the edges a little bit too. There's Dallas Turner has
taken a big leap.
He really, really has. And I'm an Alabama guy, and I wasn't in on him, but he's 100% going to be in the discussion for them. And again, I told you this. Rick Spielman talked about it, and just to show you you can say whatever you want about Rick Spielman, but he knows prospects, and he knows he's pretty good at what he did. He said in this draft, if he had Will Anderson Jr. and Dallas Turner on the board together, he would be hard pressed to bypass Dallas Turner, even with Will Anderson on the board. And you pair something like that with Montez Sweat, Cars, that could be.
And Dexter.
Yeah. That's what I'm
just
saying.
Look at the rotation, right? Like you've got a lot of bodies there, then you're throwing at it, Dexter takes that step, he pushes Justin Jones to the third. You make that deal, you push DeMarcus Walker to your third. Now he's a really good third defensive lineman. And Philly last year, right? They rode rotations like that constantly.
You throw fastballs all game long. You can destroy game plans. And this is another, actually, Creighton, where was your Tavondre Sweat is, I love him. He's massive, but he's a load. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a name. I'm not taking him up top by any means, but no, that's definitely a guy that's on my radar that I'm a fan of.
What is he? He's like 6?
Yeah, he's massive.
6'4" and 350 plus.
But
right?
you look at it, if you're building that Philly model, he's your who's the Jordan
Jordan Davis. Yeah.
Davis. He's
Yeah.
your Jordan Davis. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there are, and you like
You
these
think about
players.
putting a guy like that next to Dexter on the interior of your line cars with a Montez Sweat. But this is where you start to build some swag for your team, because it starts there. When we say that it starts in the trenches, that's the thing. And I love Olu, but as much as I hate Notre Dame, Alt is a fucking dog. And that's what I love. My biggest fear with Olu is demean. I want a dude that wants to.
You want to write a guy like Wright. Yeah.
Right. You want a dude that's he's not just gonna accept blocking you. He wants to block you and then put you through the fucking wall and then tell you about it.
Yeah.
And say, I'll be back in 40 seconds and I'm going to do the same fucking thing. That's who Alt is. And I
nasty.
To me, that is critical on your offensive line. I want a bunch of guys that are going to go out there and say, fuck you, and fuck you. Oh, I'm here to dominate you.
Listen, in my life, one of my favorite tackles of all time, Kyle Turley. Man, that's how that dude played, right? He was mean, vicious, just probably said some of the most awful things you could ever think of. But like that's that mold, right? You want a guy that does want that, and you kind of need that. That sets tones. That type of aggressiveness, your running back sees a pancake from Tevin Jenkins, everybody gets amped up, right? You see it from the entire left side and your right side. That's how then momentum and energy carries way better.
Totally agree. And I started this earlier, so I was a little bit late putting it up there. Do you think it's time to straight only play players you expect to be here next year? Listen, the team is so young. They're actually playing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you have to look at it from Matt Eberflus's perspective also, is he wants to win. He's going to put out there the guys that he thinks are going to get the W's for him. He's coaching for his life. He's coaching for his livelihood.
He'll never get another HC gig after this.
No. You're right. Exactly. He'll get hired. He'll be a DC all fucking day long, or be a linebackers coach for a year and then be a DC the next year, 100%. But this team, and I got to give Olin a bunch of credit here, because he was on the Score and they asked him the same question, and he said, this team is so young. The young guys are all playing anyway. Yeah. But he said, for me, the move is, and I never thought of it. He's like, for me, the move, if I'm Matt Eberflus, I go and I say to Getsy, I'm removing play call duties from your, you're not doing it anymore. And we're going to see what it looks like with Janoko calling plays.
Yeah.
For the last 3 games. And I'm like, that's a fucking brilliant play. You have nothing to lose by doing that.
You really don't. And actually, you have a lot more to gain.
Exactly.
And you started to dance around it a little bit when asked about some of the play calling.
Not even a little bit, Cars. I think it was.
He's always danced around it, but this was, the next level. So yeah, if something goes wrong here this week, even if something goes right, that could be kind of a decision that we want to give it another turn, and then he can go and say, look, late, I get it, but I figured it out, and we did this the next 2 weeks, and go. This is the only way probably of solidifying him as having a gig.
Right. And I thought Flus had a couple of comments, that one that we're talking about there with Getsy that really stood out to me. And then him speaking on the 4th down play. Yeah. They're like, does he have the option to pass? And he's like, oh yeah. to me, that said a whole bunch when he said it the way that he said it.
I think it was designed.
Yeah.
But when he came out and didn't see, and those are the things. I think it's difficult.
You want to answer this one, Cars? I know the
That's what
answer.
I was just about to. The answer is no, I wouldn't. And I think we put so much into how the defense has gotten better and some of the players had gotten better, but the right way to use your players, the lack of accountability from the head coach, lots of things like that, just continue to be red flags. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure, all of those things, but you kind of find out with some of these guys if there's something there or not.
Right.
And I just don't, it's the most overused phrase. I don't think he hates to lose enough. I think he loves to win,
Right.
but I just don't get the sense that play in, play out, game in, game out is life and death. And usually the best have that in them.
If it was, Cars, you're never dropping Justin Jones on a critical down.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I mean, I understand, though. You're going to have that built into your,
and that's the way you message it in the locker room.
Right.
Yeah.
But and Justin Jones to come out and say, Nick Moriano asked him flat out, have you ever practiced that before? And he's like, yeah, that's not really sure how to answer that. But yeah, I've never, that's not something that I ever remember doing. And I mean, dude, the fucking playoffs are on the line, and your call is to drop your defensive tackle into coverage against a guy that at that point had 9 receptions in the ball game.
Well, and it's reasons like that I feel like the overall vitriol to Darnell Mooney was completely undeserved because yes, made a drop. Yes, it could have won us the game, but it's not what lost us the game. What lost us the game was exactly what you're talking about. It was terrible defensive play calling, terrible, gutless. It was a completely conservative offensive play call situation. The schemes didn't make sense. The lack of play, there was so much all around. And yes, Darnell Mooney not making that catch didn't allow us to win, but it's the other 59 minutes by Getsy and Flus really caused us to lose. We see a lot of shit games, and for whatever reason, it seems to happen every time we play Cleveland. But God, you play an aggressive defense, and Flus and co crap down their pants every time.
You do, when it's time to show that you have balls, and Wayne, I'm right there with you, man. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks
yes, absolutely.
And it doesn't for where I think that you're going to be going draft wise and in this offseason. Again, your most critical down of the season, you dropped your defensive tackle in coverage against a guy that had 9 receptions and ended the game with 10, leading any player. It just,
and had no good response for a while about it.
Oh yeah, I gotta. That's one of those. There's 2 to 3 every game that you want to take back, that you want to have back, and then that's one of them. Dude, come on, Cars. We did our live watch party. Thanks again, Wayne. Appreciate you, man. We did our watch party, and live, I'm like, fucking, my exact response, fucking Justin Jones. And the way that I made it sound was I was pissed at him, but it was because I was watching and I saw him drop into fucking coverage, and immediately you knew. And Njoku responded to it in the post game. They asked it. He's like, when I broke the huddle and I looked and I saw the way that they were aligned, he said, I clapped my hand and said, ball game. That's it. That's it. He goes, I knew it was over. He goes, I knew I was going to run my route just a little bit deeper. It's a defensive tackle. And this, come on, those things are critical.
But the other side of that, isn't it amazing when you see a last play and you see one player on offense get really excited. Like you can tell in the way in the motions, like there is those moments of I can win us the game because this is going to be open or this is going to be there. Those are some of the best moments. Like when you could line up and a guy on your team can look across and go, I'm scoring and this is the game. And not like from an ego thing, but just knowing schematically it's going to be there. That's got to be just an incredible feeling to be there and watch it happen and
Right.
watch it all come true at that moment.
But I just, I go back to Matt Nagy, and remember Matt Nagy when he came in here, he wanted to be so positive and so aggressive, and then when you got to 4th and 1, here he is calling a timeout to set up a play. There was nothing ever in the flow. We're going. You have your top 2-3 plays that you're comfortable with. I look at Matt Eberflus the same way. It's the false bravado. It's the false confidence. It's the we're gonna send some pressure, but it's just you gotta move. Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren have to do the right thing and realize the blueprint for the Bears has been there the entire fucking time. And if they do it again, Cars, they're taking this opportunity, this fucking lottery ticket that they're holding, and they're lighting it on fire. They really are.
Oh, it would. And truthfully, either way, you're screwing this up because you're either going to ruin a kid as he starts or completely destroy the last chance a kid's going to have to be the guy.
Yeah.
And the team, because of the way you've built it, can still really compete in an NFC North that suddenly is ass.
Yeah.
Right? Like Detroit doesn't look good. Green Bay doesn't look good. Minnesota is old and doesn't have talent and young talent in a lot of places. Like this, even if the quarterback position isn't great next year, either way, you still should win the division because you will be the most talented roster next year.
I hear you. And you have, this is where Dan Wieder's tweet yesterday, that he sent out. And it's so true, man. You don't get a lot of opportunities. I understand you can point to some things with Flus, especially defensively, where you have seen improvement.
Yeah.
But we've also invested high draft picks. We've invested a lot of money for talented players. So to me, that is much easier to maintain by bringing in a qualified defensive coordinator. Moving forward with this guy at head coach, Cars, it's the ultimate lunacy. It is. It's Chicago trying to relive it. The defense is showing a sign. This is going to be the core of our team. No, it's not. It's not. It can be a big, big part of it, but you cannot move forward with this guy leading your team because he doesn't have a clue on the other side of the football. He doesn't.
But to your point, we've kind of done this, right? We held on to Dick Duran a year or two too long. Lovey, we really did hold on to a year too long. We should have made that decision. And then when it happened, we should have undone that decision. But, we were so dead set on all of it. We continually kind of do this. We'll give them one more chance. We did it with Nagy and nothing. Nagy didn't have anything positive to go off of, where at least Flus would say the defense. There was nothing. We did it again.
Nagy's expertise was nothing. I mean, was on the offensive side of the ball, and he didn't have that he could not say, hey, look at how we're growing here. This is why you brought me here on this. At least Flus can say, hey, this guy is improving. Our defense is showing life. He has that. He can do that. Nagy never could. And Cars, think about how sick to our stomach we were during that presser when the collaboration where they all got a fucking script, all of them,
Well,
with the highlighted word collaborate.
The moment I think that we knew it was going to be bad early, but the second that we had been told or knew that Ted Phillips wasn't going to be on,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden Ted Phillips shows up, and if Ted Phillips is your, pull ripcord in case of emergency guy, you are absolutely just ass as an organization. So yeah, there's a legit concern always until we see Kevin Warren make a move that we think he should make and wants to make. And I think forcing Flus away is that move. If it doesn't happen, how many of us are going to believe that Kevin Warren has any sort of power or say with his title?
No, I totally agree. And just guys, some of the things in the chat we're not addressing anything quarterback tonight. It's been hot and heavy here on the network for the last couple of weeks. We're just going to steer everything in a different direction tonight. So we're not
for Cars' own sanity.
Well, yeah, it's for everybody, man. It's we BHL was an entire show, talking about quarterback, and then I know Ivan talked about it on another Bears show. We did it last night again, and it's just there's other things that we can talk about here. We're just not going to do it again tonight. We're just going to take a little break from it. We have, after this week, we're going to have 2 more games left, and we're going to have a lot of time to figure out what's going to happen at that position. We have our thoughts on it for sure, and we're going to, I think at this point everybody knows them, but we're going to be talking about it a lot. That's
well, I mean, you're a sicko like me.
Yeah.
After the season ends, what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be going back, watching the all 22 on offense, and I'm going to break it into chunks and see what we see each step along the way. I mean, you're right. I have my beliefs. I will go double check my work and make sure that
absolutely,
like all of us, I'm not going to meatball myself.
I get it, man. My son's 12 years old. We were sitting down in the studio the other night and we're talking, and our plan was to watch a Christmas movie, and that turned into all 22 of quarterback prospects where I was explaining different things to him and stuff like that. But it is what it is. When you say that we're sickos, we are, man. It's just what you are. You get some free time, and if you're not talking about it, you're looking at it on tape because I want to be right. You know what I mean? I want to make the right decision, but I wish it was me calling the shots. I really wish it was me calling the shots, but it's not me. So
yeah, I want to try to stay as educated on as I feel like I should be. Like if people are going to watch or listen, I feel like, you have to put in the work and make sure. And so you have to, scout. We tell the coaches to self-scout. You got to do that on yourself too, and make sure that you're not missing those things. But it is, because sometimes some of these things that we talk about, I would rather be wrong, right? Like I would rather be completely wrong on some of these stances, because it would mean an easier decision for us, or creates more options.
So I'll let you answer this, Cars. I know what your answer is going to be, but I do want to chime on this also. Yeah, go ahead.
Right now, I would be very hard pressed to. Alt is a bigger upgrade than Olu would be to me, to Braxton, because they are very similar in both being really good pass blockers, but Alt is a much more physical person. But the way I look at it is going to be positional value is going to push that one a little bit lower, because in the area that you would draft Alt, you are also going to be looking at wide receivers and Bauer. And so what you have to look at is
an edge, even.
Or an edge, yes. Yeah. And so what you're going to have to sit there and look at is, which one do I have the biggest deficiency? To me, you can argue it's either going to be wide receiver number 2 or a move tight end, and only because it's Bowers, that is going to be your primary need because you have nobody under contract other than DJ Moore. So in that regards, no. If this was a different team with some different deficiencies, Alt would be much more difficult to pass on.
Yeah, and that's kind of my sentiment also. But just if I'm just basing it on just talent alone, and I don't think Ryan Poles has any plan to move off of Braxton. That's my feeling.
His pass blocking has been.
If my board fell a certain way and Alt was my top guy on the board, I would never be able to just say, well, we have Braxton. If he's clearly the best player, I would draft Joe Alt. I just would. That's just me. And I mean, think of you can't compare the two players, but I look at it a lot like Justin Jones.
Yeah.
That you can be just good enough and make some plays and be a nice player in Braxton Jones. He can be a starter and be just good enough. But in a perfect world on a really, really good team, Braxton Jones would be an amazing third tackle. You know what I mean? That's the way that I look at it on a deeper team. But we're not that deeper team yet.
I think the way I would explain it for you would be like if Darnell Mooney was the number 2 wide receiver that we hoped he would be and expected him to be in this role right now, that would mean that the wide receiver number 2 depth isn't, and so Alt becomes much more in play. So if you look at it in that context, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Beginning of the year, we were arguing, is it going to be Jalen or Darnell that's going to get the contract? And I think, or Claypool, right? When it came to playtime, the way it was looking. And I think we always kind of said it would be Claypool was most likely because the opportunity they were giving him, and Darnell, and then Jalen. Now we sit here at the end of the season, and only one of them has a legit chance of being here.
Yeah, and I mean, and as much as I love Darnell Mooney, there's obviously something there that's off, and maybe it's his tightrope surgery. I don't know. Maybe that's because Cars. You can look at him if we're talking about the All 22. You can look at Darnell Mooney on the All 22 and just focus on him. He's not running his routes the same way that he did early on. He's really not. And I don't know. And I happen to believe what it is. I think this is a 5th round pick that does not have generational money, that's already had one major injury, that realizes free agency is a few weeks away or a couple of months away for him. And he doesn't want to have that second major injury. That's truly what I think it is.
I read it more as frustration because when you watched him early, they were there. And again, a lot of his stuff is crossing routes or posts that are taking him over the middle, and those are just not getting thrown. So, I get a sense more of there's frustrations, and I think.
But even on his deep shots, I mean,
his tracking has not been as good at all. Like that Washington game, and he turned the wrong way, and a few others.
That was the first play of the game. That was right out the gate,
and that should have been a touchdown.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree.
It's again, I don't know if you find this is interesting, but every time we hear from the defensive guys, they talk about their love of Flus, right?
Yeah.
But every time you talk to an offensive guy, they talk their love of the quarterback, and nobody else in that locker room. There's nobody. So when we say like the team loves,
that's a super fucking underrated point, man.
Yeah,
honestly,
the teammate love Justin, but the coaches are not like the defense guys love the defense. Nobody likes the offense. That's going to be another killer for them. And so I don't know. It's going to be, again, a lot of body reading, body language reading the next couple of weeks to see how tuned in people are and where they are. But this is the first week that I've been like, there are really big cracks in the armor we've been seeing for the last 2 years.
No, I hear you. And I think if you're watching Cars Keys tonight, I think that honestly right there is the mic drop. I really do. That's a fantastic point made by you, Cars, because it says a lot. And this is the thing. And so many fans are, give me a running back and give me a defense. And I understand it. You can win games that way.
Yep.
You can win games that way. And I get it. But in today's NFL, you have to have a big time quarterback that is going to be making plays consistently and not trying to live in the highlights, like Kurt Warner said. And that's a great point that he made.
Oh, the way he really explained it as these big plays, we'll use the old Matt Nagy, right? Big plays are nice, and they certainly are. But a big play is better when it comes in the structure of the design, that the ball comes out on time, that it hits into the right place versus the right defense. While we will always take the pocket breaks down, the guy who scrambles around, makes the throw or busts out the big run, it's the way that you've got to do it in the structure. And the guys who have really good or have really exploded on offense, they're making the consistent play. Kurt brought a great point with Mahomes, right? He's not as consistent this year, and that is why the offense is a struggle. Some of it is play calling. Others of it is the lack of faith in the wide receivers that he hasn't had a whole lot of time with. But down in, down out, I mean, most of these quarterbacks have really... Brock Purdy has probably been the only one that I would argue has gotten better, but most of the good quarterbacks have taken a serious step back this year.
Yeah.
And it's all because of the timing and getting the ball out in rhythm on time.
Yeah, and I honestly think it goes back to training camp and your OTAs, that everything that these players have signed off on in the collective bargaining agreement, all of that. And Cars, history shows you that if I understand you want to get to week 1 and you want to be healthy, but if you refuse to do anything in preseason, it's pushing your development back into the regular season. I think you're seeing that with the Bears. You know what I mean? And it's just they're
willing to throw away week 1. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And just think about that. They threw away a statement game against your rival, quote unquote rival, that's kicked the shit out of you over and over and over again. And it's to me, that needs to change. It really, really does. It's just players are going to get hurt. If they get hurt, you're going to get, grilled for it in the media and by the fan base. But you know what? The same thing's going to happen if you come out flat. Same thing's going to happen if you come out and you lose.
And you lose a lot, right? And you don't take accountability for it. Getsy did 2 weeks ago for one of the play calls, and he actually took accountability. And that was the first time that anyone on this staff had taken accountability for anything. So if you don't think that they're feeling a hot seat, they're starting to take accountability.
You think they're doing what Mike McDaniel did? Fuck no.
No.
They're not. Flus did it the other night. After the Cleveland, you gotta make a play on that ball. You gotta pick it off. No, man. How about don't drop your fucking defensive tackle into coverage? That to me is more critical than a rookie making a mistake on a deep ball to Amari Cooper. That was an amazing fucking throw by the quarterback. Why am I blanking on his name?
Joe Flacco.
Go back and watch that, Cars, and look where Cooper is when he throws that fucking ball.
Well,
I mean, it's
I don't know how,
nuts. It's nuts. And I mean, listen, could Terrell Smith have played? Yes, he could have. He's a rookie corner. They're gonna make really, really dumb plays. A guy that's been a lifer in the fucking NFL, in Matt Eberflus, you can't make that call, Flus.
I mean,
Can't.
Trayvon Diggs, when he's great, he's great. We'll use Bland on the same team. All this hype over his touchdowns, and what was it? He got one game and he was beaten like 5 for 126 by DK Metcalf and 2 or 3 touchdowns. Like, these guys are gamblers. They're trying to make reads. You know, they're playing a guessing game on what the route is actually going to be, because everybody has a change. So yeah, they're going to guess and be wrong.
Yep.
And it just kills me.
Gary's got another one in here for you, Cars. To me, you only have one starting lineman, Darnell Wright. Maybe Tevin if he can stay healthy. The rest, you got wash players at center and Nate Davis.
So I think Braxton gets a lot of hate because you see that, you know, it's the offensive line thing of, you see a bad play and you don't pay attention or see all the good plays that are made. So understanding there are plays where it's not great, but I happen to really like him. I like his athleticism. I think he's taken a step this year. I still think he's got room to grow as well. And
he's got to get stronger, Cars.
He will every off. He's holding up a lot better this
year. Better than he was last year. Yeah.
Still has a whole lot. You know, Tevin Jenkins, that one's really tough because if you remember, Shane, you and I were early on like
when he's healthy, he's your best offensive lineman, Cars, and it's not close.
Oh God, Darnell Wright could, but right now,
not yet. Yeah,
not there. And yeah, but you and I had been, if he could just stay healthy, and then sure as shit, I put on a thing of how much money I think he's going to get, and he gets injured the next week, right?
And that was scary. I mean, it wasn't, it wasn't like it was anything super, super violent. The way that he went down, I'm like, oh man,
I was worried it was his back.
Me too, like because his arm went back and it looked just like he was pointing to his lower back. And I was like, oh shit.
Here we go again. Yeah.
And he was in DNP again today.
Yeah. I mean, he'll be in the protocol all week. There's 0% chance. But this would be a nice game for them to play Jatiri Carter at left guard instead of Cody Whitehair. So kind of back to an earlier question, it would be nice to do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Cars. And what do you think that they'll do? Do you think they'll do that if Tevin is out? Or do you think that
Cody Whitehair's playing?
That's what I mean.
Guard. Yeah.
That's what I mean. And that goes back to the earlier question, playing the younger guys, or you're fighting
one you should be playing.
Or you're fighting for your job. 100%. If that's the move, Tevin is out, Carter should be in there playing. Totally agree.
So yeah, but God, I think Nate Davis has had more ups and downs than we would like. I still think he's a solid guy, but he's another upgradable piece. If there's someone else out there, but for what he is and the value, it's there. If you get a center, and it doesn't even need to be an all-pro, you just make a minimal improvement to that position, and the line looks a whole lot better. We'll see how it all plays out, but I think we're too hard on the line because we focus on some of the bad plays that happen and don't see everything else that's out there.
Yeah, Jesse, definitely was concussion. If you go back and watch it, you can see it on Tevin's face, and according to players in the locker room, even in the locker room after, Tevin was wide-eyed and still
not there.
Didn't have all his marbles together. We'll just say that. And concussions are crazy, man. I can get a concussion and whatever, and the guy next to me gets one, and it affects people differently. Look at Roshan. Roshan was out for quite a while with his.
3 or 4, yeah.
And that's probably another thing we should be talking about too, Cars. I mean, Foreman was a DNP today. I think Roshan's been, for as much hype as he got, man, he looks like a 1989 plotting running back to me out there. he's got a long ways to go. To me, if you want him to be a viable
guy.
big piece of this offense moving forward, and to me, I love Deontay Foreman, and I think I'm definitely re-signing him, bringing him back on a 1-year deal. It's not going to cost you much, but I wouldn't be shocked if you don't see a completely revamped backfield in Chicago. Wouldn't shock me in the least.
And I think that's the other biggest miss is that Foreman should have been the guy from go.
We said it the day he was signed, Cars.
But look at how much better the run game was when he was there. And so everybody knows since Herbert's been back and starting at running back, the Bears are averaging 3.1 yards a rush on first down, which is usually when Khalil Herbert's doing it.
Yep.
So he's not the guy for the offense right now. He's not the guy for the scheme to be the starter. He's a good change of pace guy. But without Foreman, we're seeing all the flaws in this run game because they just aren't physical. They need that type of person. That's what Foreman's supposed to be. But they keep going back to Herbert. And
he's not healthy, clearly.
No.
He's not the same guy at all.
Excuse me. It's not like when it was at Dallas,
mm-hmm.
when it was Pollard behind Ezekiel Elliott. And you're like,
right.
Why isn't this happening? I think you know all of his flaws. He's not all of these different things that he's not your early down guy, like set the tone first drive type of person. He is, all right, he has worn down this team for a quarter.
Right.
Now it's your turn to come in type of guy. And it's another one of those just messed up uses that I do not understand.
What do we got?
So
another one here real quick, Cars. Just ripping through these Gary's. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it, Cars. The O-line coach has been terrible this season. Not enough criticism. You would think Billy Donovan is calling the rotations. Jesus.
I struggle with that a little bit because
me too.
Wright has played very well. He is in part responsible for getting Tevin into guard, getting him into the position to buy in to do that. I think what Ja'Tyre Carter has done is better. I think he got as close to getting a blood out of a turnip as he can in Larry Borum this year. So I think there is some improvement there, but I just think schematically, the way that the way that plays are being called and the way that they're being designed to attack defenses. If you've listened to kind of the show this year, Getsy's play design leaves a lot to be desired. Yeah. And there's already problems with the way that the run game and the pass game don't really marry up.
Yeah, they don't mesh
at all. And so within a step or a half step, the defender knows if it's going to be a run or a pass. They can tell because it's like, it's old school. If it's a run play, their first step is forward. If it's a pass play, their first step is back. It's very just easily done. And that is schematically, Morgan's not the run game coordinator. That is all on Getsy. And it's just not there. But the players have gotten better. So there is some issue there, but I tend to think, again, it's schematic.
Right. And
more than anything.
Robert, David Montgomery was a free agent, and they offered him essentially the same deal that Detroit did, Chicago did. And we have that on pretty good authority.
Yeah.
From the player himself. He didn't want to be here. He wanted a fresh start someplace else.
The Bears wanted to go try to win.
Yeah. The Bears wanted David Montgomery back. The Bears offered him essentially the same exact deal that Detroit did, and he walked. And Ryan Poles was pretty surprised by it. But that's part of NFL free agency. That's the game that you play, and at that position. But again, I look back to it, I love David Montgomery. I love the heart and the passion that he plays with. but they also love him so much in Detroit that 6 weeks later, they drafted a running back top 12 in the first round. So
That many said was way too high.
yeah, I
And
love
still, I love the player, but
yeah, I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, if he was available with one of the Bears' second round picks, I was running to the podium. I didn't think he was going 12.
first round, it did not work
Yeah.
at all. At all. We'll just do two things real quick. On offense, the way to beat him, the right-hand side, so the left defensive end, left tackle, really light guys. You're talking Collins plays a lot of the edge at 260. Ledbetter next to him is like 280. So you've got a physical big line. So you're going to expect to see a lot of runs to run over that side, and there's been a lot of success there. Komet should be a Komet game. Arizona struggled against good TEs, especially in the red zone. They just don't have a guy to sit down and match up with that. So that should be really important for us. When you look at it, the Cardinals are the second worst pressure rate over the last 5 weeks. There will be a lot of time for plays to develop. They don't blitz as well. So they're a team that sticks with it and tries to stay in coverage. So there should be time for things to develop. So hopefully we see some return of a bit more of a vertical passing game that I feel like we go away from far too much. If you look at pass charts, especially when you look against the teams that have played Arizona, the middle of the field is ripe with opportunities. Buda Baker is not necessarily the same player that he was a couple of years ago. He's still really good in the run game. But the inside linebackers, including Josh Woods, they can be beaten. So you hope to see us take advantage of it. The last couple of weeks, there have been plays there. Really need to see those go. So half of the rushing yards, 72 of the 70 rushing yards on the Cardinals defense of a game come on first down. So you're getting great success running the ball. We have not, right? So again, we've been 3.1 yards the last 5 games. But they give up the second most amount of yards per attempt on first down through the air at 9. So this should be a game where we try to normally set the tone with a run game to get in the second and manageable. Needs to be the pass game.
So that means we're going to go exactly opposite of what you said.
Exactly. So we can't waste the first down plays, right? Like when we run on first down, we're one of the worst teams getting stuff behind the line. They're not a great team, but if you let them hang around, they will hurt you and they can win. Again, any team that can put 200 plus yards on the ground against a really good 49ers defense,
yeah,
you gotta do it. On the opposite side, you gotta stop Connor, right? Cardinals are really even when it comes to first down. They lean way more on that run, on the pass now with Kyler there. But you'll notice they're getting 5.3 yards per rush on first down. If you don't contain the rush, and I mention this because we look so good against the run, except against physical teams like what Detroit has done, and David Montgomery averaging 6 yards a carry against us those 2 games. If this happens, this game will be a loss. If the Bears cannot stop the gashes, you are going to see this game easily be a loss. 3 of the 4 interceptions for Kyler have come on first down. He's still not seeing things, both because of height. He has a massive front line in front of him. So stay aggressive, but this is not a game that you can blitz early.
Are you calling a Justin Jones interception against Trey McBride? Is that what you're saying, Carson?
I'm actually calling a Dominique Robinson. No, I have no idea where I was going with that. But yeah, this is a winnable game, but more importantly, it is a very losable football game.
Oh, 100%, man. 100%. And I still think them being outside and not in the element that they're used to will end up being a factor. And listen, Christmas Eve, late game, they know that they got to travel and they'll be thinking about. I think that that's all going to play. I think that that might not be a huge part of it, but I think it's going to play into it. So we'll see. But I wouldn't put. I think that there's a lot of fans out there that think that the Bears are just going to steamroll Arizona, and I wouldn't count on that at all.
This could look like Detroit again, because the first game where they just start pounding the ball and we don't stop them. And this is kind of your 3.5 quarter thing, Shane.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, there are times on offense we look good for half a quarter and terrible to 3.5. If this is a game where normally the defense looks bad for half of, like one
Right.
quarter and good the other, if those flip flop, this game gets ugly. And what we've seen from this team is they rely on the defense to create offense, which God, is that,
who's that sound like?
Yeah, us, and us.
What was your favorite play in the 8-play 1-yard touchdown drive last week, Carson? That's Chicago Bears football, is it not? I mean,
it's.
Did you have any confidence we were going to score there? Because I did not.
Oh God, no. Oh no! Like, the second the first penalty was like, all right, we're done. Yeah. We're done. This is over. This is over. You. But it's, the hard part about this is, like, if our defense isn't forcing takeaways right now, God, is our offense even worse. Like, when the wheels come off on the defense from carrying the team basically for 3.5 quarters, you don't get shocked about that. It would be so nice to have a just 4-quarter both sides football game, wouldn't it?
And make Carey's surprise come true. I would love it, because it's I'm not exactly excited about them being the 425/325 game on Sunday, just because of family obligations and Christmas Eve. And with that being said, just to get off of that, just to make sure everybody knows, there's not going to be a halftime show or a BHL this week. I think everybody understands that we all have young families that are going to be our focus. I won't even be home to do that. So I will be at my sister's house celebrating her birthday and Christmas Eve and Christmas there with the kids. So we'll be doing that, but no BHL. I know Phil said that he may record a rant, but I wouldn't even plan on that. Listen, it's family first, and concentrate on that. And hopefully the Bears get a big W. Cars, you got a prediction before you get out of here?
So I learned my lesson last week. So I will never say the Bears are going to win again this while Eberflus is the head coach. So I'm going to say 24-13 Arizona.
Wow. Cars, Merry Christmas.
I just shit on a whole lot of people. Yeah, look, I can't believe in this head coach and this staff anymore. And this should be a game where it shouldn't be close. It really shouldn't. Talent to talent. It shouldn't be close, but we know it's going to be. Carrie, Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much, Carrie. Send the wife our best. I hope she's feeling good and thriving, and Merry Christmas to everybody that showed up here tonight. We appreciate you guys so much, but this will be the last Cars Keys of the year. Cars, correct? Is that how we're?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, it's very true.
Yeah, essentially. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll see what we're doing. It's going to be a big off season, but yeah, I think we're just about at the 90-minute mark. We may end it here a couple minutes early, but hey, end of the day, real quick, one more thing I wanted to ask you. Are you having any issue with having to root for the Packers over the Panthers?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not either. I'm not
You
either.
know, the only game with the Panthers I'm scared of is the Jaguars game.
Yeah, if
Um,
Lawrence is out.
Even if he's in,
Yeah,
that team is just not like you understand why Philadelphia realized that Doug Peterson isn't that good of a coach, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they had to move on. That's the one that scares me. I don't even worry about Tampa if Tampa has won the division, because I think even if they go second string, that second string is so much better than
Thankfully,
Carolina's first.
Bears are in control with pretty much all the tiebreakers all the way down through. So, or not the, the way that would all set up for the Bears, I should say.
We just need. I do think New England can actually and should probably beat Denver this week, so that would take a tremendous weight off of my shoulders.
Oh, you think New England will beat them?
Yes.
Really? That's interesting. That would. Oh, yeah. That would be amazing. That would be a perfect Christmas gift for TTNL and all of our sanctity, for sure.
I mean, they played Kansas City pretty well,
Yeah.
and they played Buffalo pretty well. And so they have sneakily gotten better since they benched that total bum of a quarterback that anybody who liked him and wanted to draft him should be banished from ever talking about draft picks ever again.
Mitchell Galloway is very upset at you right now.
But I think New England's a sneaky, significantly better team right now, and they'll definitely beat the Jets, I think, the last week. I'll just say that as well.
Well, I think we can get out of here, man. Love you. Merry Christmas to the
Merry Christmas
to the
to you
girls.
as well.
Yeah. Maybe Steph will step up her Bears merchandise game to Shane's levels over here.
I guess I'll just have to
back there. Yeah.
go set the bed up down here in the basement, as that's where I'll be sleeping this evening. But
I thought you were taking a shot at me there. But anyways.
No. I'm a shitty husband, so I buy really comfortable couches. So every time I get forced to one, I can still sleep pretty well. That's really the goal.
That's why I bought 3 theater chairs down here in my studio. These things are fucking great. Love it. But we're gonna get out of here, guys. This will be posted in pod version probably within the next 30 to 45 minutes for everybody that wants to listen to it that way. But Bears versus Cardinals. Let's see what happens. Then after that, we got 2 more to go with lots and lots of questions. Cars, we did very, very good. Not talking quarterbacks tonight.
We did it.
Yeah,
we did it. I'm gonna fly the mission accomplished banner.
Yeah. Can we use the MJ phrase here? We did it. It's been a long struggle. But we're going to be right back here next year for another long struggle, right? That kind of fits perfectly.
I think that's the exact way to put it.
Absolutely. All right. Love you guys. Merry Christmas to everyone. We hope you all have a great time with your family, your loved ones. That being said, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Christmas.
Right?
Happy Christmas.
Bear down. Love you guys.